This is Steamboat Springs, Colorado, a small rural town of only about 13,000 people. Clearly a far cry from a major metropolitan area like New York or LA, where you'd expect rent prices to be high. This small town recently made national headlines for the most bizarre, unexpected reason. Well, maybe in the total clown world we live in today, it's not that unexpected anymore. You see, according to this news report, there was recently a job opening for a $167,000 salary position. Shockingly, 2 people were accepted for the job, but they had to turn it down. Why? Get this, because they couldn't afford the rent prices there. I recently made a video about how there are no logical reasons for Gen Z to bother working a 9-to-5 these days. And I do mean every single pull yourself up by the bootstraps argument is purely an emotional one. For example, you've probably been told that you should get a job so that you can move out of your parents' place and be independent. The reason this is a perfect example of an emotional argument and not a logical one is because jobs these days are not going to pay you enough to even move out of your parents' house in the first place, hence rendering the whole argument useless from a logical standpoint. It sounds better from an emotional standpoint to just say, get a job and move out, and that's why people say it. But it makes no sense from a logical perspective because it doesn't even pay you enough to move out in the first place. Now, I did some quick math in this video, and I calculated that a young person today who wants to move out and pay rent would need to make at least $63,000 per year to do so. This calculation was based on the average rent price of $1,748 per month, multiplied by 3, because landlords generally require you to make 3 times the monthly rent before they'll even consider your application. This comes out to $5,244 per month, which adds up to just under $63,000 per year. Now, this was a shocking figure even to me, and so I thought some people might push back and say that I was exaggerating. But to my surprise, it was the exact opposite. A lot of people in the comments actually informed me that it's even worse than that. For example, one person pointed out that the $63,000 means net income after taxes and not gross income before taxes, which means the real gross salary you need to make is actually $104,000. Another person pointed out that $63,000 isn't even enough to afford a tiny 1-bedroom tiny studio apartment in certain cities in California. So it turns out not only was I not exaggerating, I was actually being a bit too generous. The situation is actually way worse than what I said. Now, to be fair, Steamboat Springs is a bit of an anomaly when it comes to small towns being this expensive. I'm not saying it's going to cost $167,000 everywhere. Here's where it does get tricky though. Sure, you can find places. A lot of people pointed out in my last video that you can just find a place that costs below the average American rent price of $1,700 and some change. But here's the problem. If you find a place that's cheaper, there's a reason it's cheaper. And typically, it's going to be because wages and job opportunities in that area are going to be worse as well. Sure, the rental markets in other places might not be as bad as Steamboat Springs, Colorado, but you're not going to find a job that pays $167,000 in those places either. The other problem with just saying, well, just find a cheaper place than the average rent, bro, is that if everyone takes this advice and does that, those prices will also end up getting more expensive. So ultimately, you just end up back exactly where you started. It's not a solution. Now, I'm going to do something a bit different for this video. You see, some of you have been complaining that I only talk about problems without offering solutions. I've actually made a ton of videos offering potential solutions, but perhaps I just need to talk about potential solutions in the same video. So there are 3 potential solutions for this problem. You can tell me which one makes the most sense to you, and I look forward to discussing it with you in the comments, actually. So the first solution is to just pay young people better wages. Now, I'm only mentioning this as a potential solution because otherwise a bunch of stupid delusional boomers will flood the comments and be like, oh, well, just work harder and make more money. But I'm personally going to write this one off because all of you watching out there know this is totally unrealistic and impractical in this economy. These asshole boomer bosses and corporations are so desperate to pay as dogshit wages as humanly possible that at this point, I have more faith in Elon Musk to get to Mars than for wages to rise for young people. Now, the second solution is to eliminate this stupid, outdated cultural expectation for young people to move out at 18. I traveled the world in my own personal journey of escaping the 9 to 5, and I can tell you that this idea that you should move out and live on your own at 18 is purely a stupid, outdated American boomer mindset. In most other countries, it is totally normal and totally acceptable to live with your parents until 25 or even until 30. And this actually works better for both the parents and children as it gives you time to actually build savings instead of just nonstop accumulating debt. Now, the third potential solution is probably the most interesting one. And this is just to check out of society and go live life on your own terms. Start your own online business or try to find some remote work and just live in cheap countries, live in a van, or volunteer abroad for free accommodation. I've actually made a whole tier list video covering all the pros and cons of all these options, so you can check it out right here if you're interested. Anyways, let me know, guys, which of these three solutions do you think is the best option? I look forward to discussing it with you guys in the comments. Thanks for watching.